is that the New Orleans Pelicans have fired their general manager, Dell Demps, today. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on ESPN News. Stephen A., again, off for the day, back from sick leave, back on First Take, back in Charlotte for the NBA All-Star Game, but one more day with his buddy, his nemesis, his rival, his debate partner, Will Cain, hanging out with you on the Stephen A. Smith Show today, brought to you by Uber. Uber Rewards is going to make you love Uber even more. Get all the info and terms at uber.com/rewards. You remember in Oliver Stone's movie JFK, or just from history, around the assassination of John F. Kennedy, remember when Lee Harvey Oswald would yell out, "I'm a patsy, I'm a patsy"? My history is foggy, but he may have been yelling that as Jack Ruby stepped into the underground parking lot of the Dallas Police Department before Jack Ruby took Lee Harvey Oswald down. Lee Harvey Oswald maintained, he screamed, "I'm a patsy." Now, that doesn't mean that Lee Harvey Oswald was innocent. That doesn't mean Lee Harvey Oswald was perfect, that he never did anything wrong, and that doesn't mean Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It just means he wasn't alone. Dell Demps is a patsy. Once again, the breaking news from ESPN today is that Dell Demps, general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans, has been relieved of his duties today. He has been fired, and I ask you, why now? Why today? Why Dell Demps? It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. ESPN's NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, he went on the 12 o'clock Sports Center just a few moments ago, and he gave us the background. Here's why Dell Demps is unemployed today.
New Orleans owner Gail Benson was especially livid last night, I'm told, with Anthony Davis leaving the arena before the game was over. He had an injured shoulder and left the building during the win over Oklahoma City.
Last night, the New Orleans Pelicans beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 131-122. But at the end of the first half, Anthony Davis went up to block a shot by Nerlens Noel and banged shoulders with Noel. He left right before halftime with that injured shoulder. According to ESPN's Ramona Shelburne, it's, quote, nothing too bad. But while he was back behind the scenes in the locker room, and as the Pelicans took the court in the second half, Anthony Davis didn't join him. He was nowhere to be seen. And then the report said, in fact, he'd left the Smoothie King Center. He had left the building. Folks, AD has left the building, reported to go get an MRI. But this was a thing. This was apparently not just a routine medical play in New Orleans. This was something that ownership was, quote, livid about. After the game, Alvin Gentry, the New Orleans Pelicans head coach, was asked about Anthony Davis leaving, and he said, "I'm happy for the guys who played the game, and we won." When asked about AD, constantly refocused the attention back to the players who were on the court. There's an increasing divide between AD and the guys on the court. There's an increasing divide between AD and Gentry. There's an increasing divide between Anthony Davis and the entire organization. Can you imagine? He doesn't want to be here. Why would he play for us? I don't want to be here with him. Why would I play for him? Last night on TNT, I thought Kenny Smith gave us the perfect analogy. It's the analogy of ownership versus renting, commitment versus not. He said, when you rent a car from Enterprise or Hertz or National, whoever is your preferred choice, when you rent a car, do you ever take it to the car wash? Do you vacuum out the interiors? You armor all the tires? Do you take care of that rental car the way you do when it's yours? Smart analogy by Kenny Smith. This is a rental now. This relationship between Anthony Davis and the Pelicans, it's not ownership. It's not commitment. It's not one and the same. It's a short-term rental. The whole damn thing is falling apart. So why now and why on Dell Demps? In all seriousness, why now and why on Dell Demps? If your coach, if Alvin Gentry is describing this rental car arrangement, is describing this entire who's with us, who's against in situation, if he's describing it like this, tell me why this is Dell Demps' fault. Here is Alvin Gentry after the game last night.
I'm happy for all of them. I'm happy for all of them. You know, because to tell you the truth, you know, this whole thing has been a dumpster fire, you know, and it's just hard, you know, for guys. You know, we want guys to be professional and we want them to do this, but it's hard for guys, you know, to go through what they've been through. And to be able to come out and beat a team of that quality, I'm happy for all the guys. I just thought that they did a great job. Don't know if he left the building or not. I have no idea.
The whole thing is a dumpster fire. He didn't. Did you hear the end? I'm sorry I jumped the cut there. Did you hear it at the end? I don't even know if he left the building or not. I don't know. Alvin Gentry, head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. The whole thing is a dumpster fire, and it has fallen today on the head of Dell Demps. Now, just like my Lee Harvey Oswald analogy, I'm not telling you that Dell Demps is blameless. I'm not telling you even that it's any one of those pillars of a successful organization. But why today? Why after AD leaves the building? Why after his whole organization is turned into a rental car arrangement? Why now? Why today for Dell Demps? Again, our ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski on what led to this in the long run. This summer, you have to ask yourself, why is it the argument today? Dell Demps was dealt a horrendous hand when it comes to this Anthony Davis situation. He was asked by ownership not to sell Anthony Davis on the cheap. He was forced to try to deal with the Lakers. And to both across the league and within the building, it was suggested that's not what we want to do here. Not now, not them. Dell Demps did what he could with a losing situation, a situation that is now upturning not one, not two, but three franchises in the NBA, from the Lakers to the Pelicans to the Boston Celtics potentially. This entire Anthony Davis saga is disrupting three organizations. Now, who is to blame for that? That specific part of this equation, not the Boogie Davis, not the Boogie Cousins trade, not the Buddy Hield trade, not the inability to bring something around Anthony Davis, but this specific situation. Who is to blame? You really think it's Dell Demps? You even think it's Gail Benson, who now wants to overhaul her organization? The one she owns in New Orleans? No. There's a stranger in the house. That's what's going on here. There's a stranger in the house. You all know what's going on here. We all know. When you have Anthony Davis connected to Clutch Sports, connected to LeBron James, you have an influence and triumvirate across this league that is now messing with three organizations. Dell Demps may not need to be running the Pelicans anymore, but the reason he lost it today is because of Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis trying to force the hand of an organization that didn't want to be forced. That's what happened here. And that's the price that was exacted on Dell Demps' head. That's Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. You can tell me what you think. Is Dell Demps a patsy, or was it just high time for him to be out in New Orleans? 888-729-3776. It's Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Will Kane filling in for Stephen A. Smith today. He'll be back with you on Monday. I'll be back to my normal slot where you can find me 3 to 6 Eastern Time following Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and SiriusXM Channel 80. You can also see me on First Take most mornings, hanging out with Molly, Max, and Stephen A. Let's move forward. There was another big story that came out yesterday, this one from The Athletic. According to reports on that website, the AAF, the new football organization giving us spring football, has reached out to a big-time quarterback, reached out to a big-name quarterback, and according to Bill Polian, when he told Lindsey Jones at The Athletic, offered a deal for one Colin Kaepernick. The AAF was interested in bringing Colin Kaepernick into their league. And in response, they were met with this: a $20 million ask from Kaepernick to play in the AAF. Now, players in the AAF generally receive 3-year, $250,000 contracts. That's the going rate across the league. Now, Colin Kaepernick's worth much more than that. You and I both know that. If Colin Kaepernick, set aside his play, whatever you think of where he ranks in the pecking order of quarterbacks and how that translates to what those guys make in the NFL. If Colin Kaepernick joined the AAF, what do you think would happen to their ratings? You know they'd go up. You'd watch, I'd watch, you'd root for him, or you'd root against him. Colin Kaepernick would be instant box office for the AAF. So he's worth more than your $250,000 contract in that league. And I'm sure the AAF knows that. So what's he worth? I don't know. To them, $3 million a year, $5 million a year. Want to go as high as $10 million a year? Far and away more than anybody else in that league makes. But okay, because, hey, ratings are king. Colin Kaepernick will drive ratings. Whatever number you come up with, it won't be $20 million. This is not the NFL. Colin Kaepernick asking for $20 million from the AAF was Colin Kaepernick saying, I'm not interested in playing football. And we have to start being real about what Colin Kaepernick wants. Like him, love him, hate him. Be real. At this point, Colin Kaepernick is more interested in being a symbol and a martyr than being a quarterback. When you have passed on this many opportunities, who knows what really happened in Seattle with Pete Carroll suggesting he's too good to be a backup quarterback. Who knows what happened there? We know the opportunity that potentially existed in Baltimore with the Ravens. It was scuttled, at least in part, by his girlfriend in her social media posts. And now, at a minimum, a third opportunity to play quarterback again to get your career back going again. Even if it's beneath you, man. Past. Not just past, but asked for an impossible ask. Colin Kaepernick is a participant in a lawsuit. Colin Kaepernick is a symbol to many for different things. Colin Kaepernick, for some, is a martyr for a cause. And those things are now important, more important to him than being a quarterback. You can't pass on that many opportunities. Dan Le Batard on the Dan Le Batard show today said, more power to him if Kaepernick wants $20 million. Listen.
I think he'd be worth a lot in terms of advertising for your league. If somebody were to sign him, he should be asking for a lot there. If you're going to ask me to compromise the principles that mean a collusion case against the NFL and the idea that I've clearly been literally blackballed, what's that worth?
I agree. He's worth more than what you normally get in the AAF. But I think what Dan's opinion there reveals exactly what I'm telling you. My participation in a lawsuit and my allegiance to a cause are more important than my football career. You see, you don't have to hear that and hate that. You don't have to hear that and pass a value judgment on it. All you have to do is hear that and realize that it's true. It's true. Love it, hate it, it's just a fact. If you're passing on these opportunities, these things you're retaining that are more important to you are more important than the opportunity. You see, at some point you move forward. No matter what life deals you, bad hands, unjust hands, at some point, you look around and you go, how do I move forward? And it doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be fair. It just has to be. Sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. If Colin Kaepernick believes being an NFL quarterback is in his future, don't you think wowing everybody in the AAF would be a quicker path to getting back on the field than through a lawsuit? Stu Gotts, hanging out with Dan Le Batard on the Dan Le Batard show today, said this.
a guy who was close to winning a Super Bowl, close to getting to another Super Bowl. I think many people feel if he still played in the NFL, he'd be like a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Man, yeah, that's worth a lot. It's certainly, him asking for north of $20 million is not ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, Stugotz. It's ridiculous if you want to get a deal done. It's ridiculous if you wanted to actually play in the AAF. It's ridiculous if you thought that was an opportunity for you that you were going to entertain. You know what's not ridiculous? You could have saved both the typeface in every article written, and you could have saved the amount of ink spilled in newspapers if you just said, no, thank you. Because that's what you're saying by asking for $20 million. No, I'm not interested. In a much shorter and more efficient way. You're saying, no, I'm not going to play in the AAF. And fine, if that's what you don't want to do, that's fine. You don't have to. But you don't have to be a quarterback either. You don't have to play in the NFL. You don't have to play in the AAF. You don't have to play at all. I'm beginning to think that's what Colin Kaepernick wants. Let's hit the phone lines. I see the phone lines are lit up over Anthony Davis, Dell Demps. See what you folks have to say. What's up with Richard in Manhattan? What's up, Richard?
Hi, Will. Well, Anthony Davis may not make the playoffs, probably not, and LeBron James looks like he's not. Now, LeBron's Lakers are number 10 in the Western Conference, and to finish 8th, there's no bargain because then they're going to play Golden State, so they'll be eliminated. So they got to make up 4 games against with Utah. Utah's 4 games ahead of them. Lakers got 25 games left. Big choice.
Wow, he really stuck the landing on that one. I could literally hear Richard hang up when he ran out of things to say. Big choice. Here's the thing. On Anthony Davis, we have to start acknowledging the role that LeBron James and Clutch Sports and Rich Paul have played in this entire thing. When I said to you there's a stranger in the house, you have to start acknowledging the role that these influences are playing. I think this is a fascinating story. LeBron James, Rich Paul, went to a Duke game recently, traveled out to North Carolina, went and watched Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Cam Reddish play a game. And that raised some eyebrows, right? There's some people out there, I don't know that received a ton of criticism, but it raised some eyebrows. Now, why? Why did that raise eyebrows? Why did people go, huh, look at that. Look who's in the stands watching Zion Williamson. Now, why do you think that is? Some people look at that and go, life's not fair to LeBron. Everybody's always criticizing LeBron. Everybody's got a hard word to say about LeBron. Others might say, look what's happening in New Orleans. LeBron James is an extremely powerful and influential man, and more power to him. If he can recruit, if he can influence, if he can entice people to come play with him or be signed by his agency, more power to him. But do the rest of us have to be blind to the fact that those influences and power are taking place? Do the rest of us have to be blind to the fact that LeBron and Rich Paul are pulling or trying to pull a lot of strings across the NBA? Do the rest of us have to blame Dell Demps for everything going on? Joel in Oregon. What's up, Joel?
Hey, you nailed it with the Kaepernick thing. Now, Dell Demps, I knew that he was going to get fired because he blew it. He should have pulled the trigger on the Laker trade. He's not going to get a better offer. The Lakers offered him 4 possible stars, 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, cap relief space, and he, out of stubbornness, did not make that deal. They would have been a much better team. There wouldn't have been drama. They've got some good pieces already on that team, and I believe that's why he lost his job, out of stubbornness.
All right, I appreciate the call, Joel. I have 3 responses to you, okay? Number 1, I don't know that I agree with you that deal from the Lakers was the best deal out there for the Pelicans. I don't know that any of those guys are stars, much less 4 of them, between Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Zubac, and or Josh Hart. I can't say with any certainty that any of those guys are going to be stars in the NBA. So I'm not sure that's the best deal, especially when the Celtics are lurking out there this summer. And the Celtics, who are very confident in themselves and confident in their ability to swoon Anthony Davis over a year's time frame to persuade him to stay. If they're dangling Jason Tatum, that's the star in the deal. And they have all the draft picks. They have all the young talent to sweeten it around Jason Tatum that the Lakers do. In fact, they have more. Second, ownership was apparently on the same page with Dell Demps when it came to that trade. They didn't want the Pelicans making it at that time or with the Lakers. I don't think he was being stubborn against the wishes of his employers. I think he was doing exactly what they wanted. And I'll give you my third reason. When we come back, it's Will Cain filling in for Stephen A. Smith. I'm going to lay out for you why it is. I think Dell Demps has been the patsy, but also I want to get more into this LeBron James and Clutch Sports thing and whether or not he and his team showing up to watch Duke is being unfairly criticized. We're all really beginning to see the power they wield across the sport of basketball. That's next on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people!
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A!
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
So when you do live reads, you do them in the